So welcome to ProfileTree TV, and I am so excited today for our special guest who I'm going to hand over to now, and you'll find out in 2 seconds. So Nuala, I'm going to actually hand over to you and let you introduce yourself and tell people a little bit about what you do.
Hello Kieran, hello everybody. My name is Nuala Mulqueeney, and I'm from a family-run business here on the west coast of Ireland in County Clare, in the north of County Clare, and it's called Aillwee Cave and Birds of Prey Centre. Yeah, we've been here about 45 years. We're a family-run business, and I've been in it since I won't tell you how old I am now, but since the year dot. Yeah.
22, 23, I think. That's
roughly,
it.
Roughly.
You know what? I'll be honest now. I have been, and I haven't. We've just met, as I say, but I must have been in Aillwee Caves, I'm sure, at least 20 times. I'm sure, at least since I was, my family, a family originally from Clare, and every summer we would go down and we would have done Cliffs of Moher, Aillwee Caves, the Burren, the Hinch, everywhere. That was our summer holidays, and I have some incredible memories going to Aillwee Caves, and maybe it was 2 years ago, maybe 3 years, I took my own kids down, and obviously seeing, taking them through, but just the memories coming back, just building that, those memories for them. I'm thinking of my memories and then building them for them. Going and getting ice cream in the town beside it. But actually then obviously found the Birds of Prey. So I think we've seen the Birds of Prey show now twice as well. So I'm like a closet Aillwee Cave fan.
Do you know, Kieran, I'm delighted to hear that, because and I'm surprised, pleasantly surprised, because a lot of the conversations when I meet people, oh yes, I know Aillwee and I know it, and then when you actually dig under it a little bit, it's been 25 years since they've been here, or 30 years since they've been here, or when did the Birds of Prey Centre come? I wasn't there when that was there. So to speak to somebody who's almost converted, I'm thrilled, and that's great to hear. But and you'll find that a lot. Do you know what I mean? That, as you say, because you had family connections in Clare, it really helps. But no, a job done. I don't have to convince you, obviously. That's taken a load off my mind.
That's it. No, I'm sure we've some dodgy YouTube videos of our trip to Aillwee, and as I say, the Burren. I'm going to actually, when we finish, I'm going to have a look myself. But
brilliant.
So for the people who don't know and haven't explored Aillwee Caves and the Birds of Prey, you wouldn't mind just sharing a little bit about what's available?
I will, of course. Well, we're open, like I said, since 1976, and what we started with then in July of 1976, I suppose, was the cave tour, and how it all happened. And not a day goes by, Kieran, that when we're open, that people ask, who owns the cave? Is this run by the government? How can you own a cave? All these questions, So I suppose to give a small little bit of background as to who owns it and that sort of thing, to answer these questions, it's privately owned. 2 families own and run the cave, and I'm second generation ownership of the site. My dad came from a village where I live as well now, in North County Clare, called Kilfenora. Kilfenora, I suppose one of its highlights, people would know about it when I say it, is the Kilfenora Ceilidh Band. There we are the proud village of the longest running Ceilidh Band in the world, 110 years, would you believe? But that's a whole other conversation. But anyway, that's where I'm from, and that's where my dad grew up, and he was a secondary school teacher in Ennistimon, and was born and bred in Kilfenora. The other family then are the Johnson family. Roger, the dad, was a mining engineer, and he had kind of worked all over the world, really, based from Nottingham, but then they wound up in Kilfenora in the early 70s, late 60s, early 70s. And Dad and Roger met actually at a community development meeting, Winter Natira. It's still running now, but I suppose, and the whole idea was, if you cast your mind back now to the West Coast in the late 60s, early 70s, desolate is a word that comes to mind. Do you know what I mean? Very little going on and that sort of thing. So there was a Winter Natira, I suppose, subgroup formed in Kilfenora, with the whole idea of looking at rural regeneration and trying to look at the tourism industry and what they could achieve in the region. One, to bring employment to the region, and two, to maybe have an educational resource about this Burren region that nobody knew very, very much about at all, both natives and, you know, visitors as such, you know, but there was a whole raft of history there, geological, sociological, anthropological, you know, the whole lot. So these people came together, and that's where Daddy and Roger met at one of these meetings. Roger was very much an engineer and an entrepreneur, I suppose, and Daddy would have been very much the local man with I suppose the being a teacher in the region, and his dad being a teacher before him. Do you know what I mean? And that sort of thing, and an interest in trying to gather you know, resources to help community development. So at these meetings, they weren't the only two at the meetings. There was a whole group of people from around the North Clare region, and they set up an educational centre in Kilfenora called the Burren Centre. All right, and it's still run today on the same business model, which is on as a co-op. So I'm a shareholder. You know, all the people who live in the region, and then there's a manager, and that little centre has been running successfully for 45 years. You know, with a view to educating people about the Burren, providing employment in the region, and so on and so forth. So when they were setting that up, of course, they needed a raft of interpretative materials. So that's where I suppose professionals in the worlds of geology and that sort of thing came to the region to teach the people. So one man that came was a hydrologist from Trinity College, and his name was David Drew. And he would have been very, very, very educated about the Burren region. And because it's a limestone region, there's a lot of underground caves and passageways and that sort of thing. And he was aware of the Aillwee system being a cave that didn't flood very easily. We're high above the water table. We're about 90 meters above sea level. And of course, this was in the pub after the meetings, chat, you know what I mean? And the idea was there, could we ever open a show cave, right? So the idea was, how do you do it? So you go to the man who owns the land and you tell him your idea. So that's where Daddy came in, and knew Mickey Darvin here, who was our neighbouring farmer here, and went to him and said, would you be willing to send 26 acres? And he said, roughly along the lines, what do you want it for? And he said, well, we're thinking of opening a show cave. Oh, well, the best of luck with that, you know. So he agreed and that sort of thing. So for a long story short, the cave opened in 1976, all right? And it was certainly, I suppose, innovative at the time, you know what I mean? And but again, the whole idea was to build a business, first and foremost, for the two families. But in doing that, you know, the employment and what has come out of it over the last 45 years has been amazing, you know. So show cave in July 76. You can see behind me there, we make Burren Gold cheese. We started that in 1985. And from April to October every year, we make 10 tons of Burren Gold Gouda here on site and in our farm shop. And we welcome people to come taste it, taste the young cheese, the maturing cheese, watch Dermot making the cheese, that sort of thing, you know. So that has grown in popularity, as you can imagine, over the years, you know. And then just on the other side of me there, you can see the Birds of Prey Centre. That was developed and opened in 2008. So, and that, of course, we are home to over 30 different types of raptors, native species, non-native species, you know. We fly them daily for people, that sort of thing. So, like I say, we're a family day out. People say to me, Nuala, do you define your markets? Very hard to define your markets when you've got something for everybody, you know. So that's what I say. We have something we try to have something for everybody. But just your comments at the beginning, Kieran, there to say that you came as a child yourself, then you've returned as with your own children, and that whole creating of memories and creating of a good time for families of 2, if not 3 generations. Mm-hmm. That's what we're about here at Aillwee.
No, and incredible. And again, I remember, again, those early experiences going in and waiting for the tour, going up the steps around the corner, waiting for the tour to begin and going down into the caves and being told all about the history and how it formed and I'm sure I remember lights going off and lights going on, and then coming back out. So no, incredible experience. And then, as you said, coming back now and seeing the birds of prey experience, that you do a display. So someone comes out and presents some of the birds, and we get to see them fly, and then you can go around and explore all the different types. So no, it's been what an evolution, I guess, of a...
Certainly. And I think that the whole ethos of what we do here is that, you know, we couldn't stand still. And I take my hat off to both my parents and Roger and his wife Susan, because they were the risk takers at the beginning. You know, I mean, they absolutely, you know, they had the vision, you know, and yes, we were here interpreting the overground of the Burren and that sort of thing. Why not take it underground, you know? And their role for the first, I suppose, 25 years of the business was literally, you know, developing it and growing it and that sort of thing, and dealing with the crowds that did come, you know what I mean? Because it was certainly a novel idea. You know, at that time, I suppose the tourism industry in the area would have been ourselves, the Cliffs of Moher and Bunratty Castle, for example, you know, and growing all together at more or less the same time, you know, or to what we have today, which is a wonderful, such a necessary industry in our region. Do you know what I mean? And that sort of thing. And like in the Burren region alone, within spitting distance of myself here, we have 60 different businesses all working within the tourism region, be it a one man or one woman guide of the Burren, to ourselves at Aillwee, to the lads over at the Cliffs, you know what I mean? And luckily we work as a network, and we have really realized in the last, you know, 8 or 10 years the power of collaboration. Do you know what I mean? And the power of working together, you know, and certainly it has proven gleaned great results for us all.
Yeah. No, and I think you've raised a very valid point. Partnerships and collaboration is the only way businesses can achieve stellar growth. I think it's more important today than ever, and we see that even this is a collaboration or partnership. We're getting to find out what's happening in tourism, and stealing your knowledge, which is great to get. So you've really seen an evolution over the last couple of years, and how tourism has changed, and how your company has had to change.
Absolutely, Kieran. You know, I suppose and I look at it in maybe 2, if not 3 different stages, you know, and I suppose as I look at myself as I've grown with the business, you know, I started for myself, I went off for a while, and I went to Galway to uni and that sort of thing, but and to Limerick as well. But having said that, you know, all my summers were back here guiding, or in the catering, or in the retail, or picking litter, or doing whatever, you know, but certainly, you know, at the beginning, I suppose we were very much consolidated in the developing of our own site, of our own business and that sort of thing, you know. But now, you know, very much, you know, we need as a business to be very much involved in the community, and I believe we have been from day one, because the type of experience that we give here at Aillwee is very much people-centric, in that we're inviting our visitors, but everything we do is done through a team, through people, whether I'm guiding you through the cave, whether I'm chatting about the cheese, whether I'm showing you the birds of prey. So like that, we go to the community for our employment, do you know? And I mean, back in the old days, I can still see, and of course my dad being a teacher, would have had kind of, I suppose, connections with all the families in the region, you know. So at the beginning, it was kind of like he'd know the students in his class, you know what I mean. He'd say, that young fella now, he'd be good, you know what I mean, and that sort of thing, or that young lady, I've heard about her, you know. So off he'd go to the families, you know. And I can still remember my dad going to a household because he had an eye on a guy who might do a bit of guiding, you know. And the mother said, well, you'll have to ask his father, because he's up in the meadow, you know. So Dad went off. I was sitting in the car, and I can still see him going up to the meadow to talk to his father. Now, you have to remember that the father, if he let the young fella go, he was missing free labor, right, on the farm. But at the same time, they could see that, you know, there might be a few bob in it, you know. And it was a great development for that young character, you know. So that's how it rocked, you know, and that's how it, and it's just wonderful, you know. But that's what you have to do in rural Ireland, I think, Ciarán, you know. And I will always say it. Over the years, I've had the real privilege of working with grandmothers and grandchildren of the same family. Do you know what I mean? So, you know, to say that Aillwee, you know, do we need? Of course, we need the community. We're like, we planted our seeds in 1976, and the root structure has really grown in the community, and you know, and you learn from each other and that sort of thing, you know. And I will always think as well, you know, first of all, we were open seasonally from March to November or October, you know. And the ladies who would never have maybe dreamed of working outside the home or that sort of thing, it was extra income, do you know? And I see tourism, especially rural tourism. Well, maybe I'm wrong, but it's the only thing I know best. You know, it has feelers in every household. You know, be it a summer job for children, be it extra income for farmers, be it you know, maybe on a farmstead where the next generation have built their house. You know, you would have had schemes over the years of doing up the home house and into self-catering, that sort of thing, you know. So to say that tourism is, you know, is an industry on its own, it's very, very difficult. Do you know what I mean? We're very, very much intrinsically linked with all walks of life, I believe, you know. So that has only really grown over the years of Aillwee's development, you know. Certainly we need to bring in skill bases like that, you know. But our cheese making, for example, one of the Johnson boys here, he went away and went to the Netherlands and learned how to make Gouda, right? But he transferred his skills to Dermot, who now makes the cheese. And actually, just an aside, a lovely story about Dermot. He actually milks the cows as well. The milk where we've gotten our milk for years is from a neighbouring farm just 6 kilometres up the road near the Dolman. They're the Darvins of Caherconnell. So Dermot starts his day early in the morning and milks the cows with the Darvins there, and brings 700 litres of it down the valley and then turns it into cheese. So I mean, you know, that story alone, Ciarán, just shows you how intrinsic you know, the tourism, in whatever shape or form you're doing it, is involved in the whole region, do you know? And Dermot will always say to me, no, Liz, well, I farm at home with my dad, do you know what I mean? But I'm here 5 days, so you tell me who's helping who here, and vice versa, you know what I mean? So it is a wonderful symbiotic relationship, and something that I think needs highlighting a bit more, do you know what I mean? Because I always feel a little bit, Ciarán, that it's tourism is there, you know, it's taken for granted, and it just happens. My God, it doesn't just happen, you know.
No, incredible. No, it's amazing, and the impact it can have in any town or townland in any part of Ireland. But especially, no, you're right, the rural areas. If we didn't have tourism, wow, I don't know what we'd have. So incredible, and the visitor experience. Then when someone comes and arrives at your place, it's so important, I guess, to yourself.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you know, when we're talking training our team and that sort of thing, I'm very adamant that we don't call people customers, they're our visitors, Ciarán, and they've chosen to come to see us, do you know what I mean? And we should feel, again, the word privilege that they are on site. So our interactions are always very much very chatty, do you know, and that sort of thing. And when the lads, for example, are learning their spiel for the tour, we'll say, and you know, yes, they have to have the uniform dates and ages and that sort of thing. And a lot of them go on. There's a lovely geological course that goes on every year as part of the geopark that we're involved in. They all go on that. But after, when they've gleaned all that knowledge, I say, lads, it's very important to make this your own, do you know, in whatever shape or form. Do you know what I mean? Use your own accent. Do you know, that sort of thing. Certainly maybe slow down your speech a little, but, you know, be comfortable, be conversational, because you get a great kick, Ciarán, out of when somebody comes in and they're not quite sure, you know, I don't know, do I want to go underground at all, or birds flapping, I'm not sure, you know. But to see people relax in your presence and to relax in your company, you know, and then I know they're only small achievements, but some people, they're huge achievements, do you know what I mean? And for our team to be involved in that and get a bit of joy out of that as well, you know, and to try to keep that every day and fresh, that's my job to ensure that happens. So that's what we do. It's very much a relaxed atmosphere, you know, and the guided tours take about 35-40 minutes, and they go through regularly throughout the day. Like we alluded to in the Bird of Prey Centre, people can look at all the birds in their aviaries. Then at appointed times during the day, we take out 3 or 4 of the species. We have a lovely arena, backdrop of the Burren hillside, seating for, you know, up to 200 people if we need it. And the lads take out the birds, talk about their physiologies, their differences, how they help us as a human race, the conservation projects that we're involved in, do you know? And then of course the whole eating and looking at the cheese and that sort of thing is a whole different thing as well, and they really enjoy that too. Yeah.
Incredible. And sustainable tourism then, and we were talking about the eco part of it, it's all very important for all of us.
It is, Kieran, and you know, it's funny, our relationship with the word sustainable tourism has been a love-hate one, can I say that? Because it's very, you know, sustainability in the word has nearly 5 syllables, and you lose people, I mean, you know, and you know, when you're trying to, but really and truly, when I look back on Aillwee and what we've actually been doing it and we haven't realized it, you know, I've learned, you know, for me, after going to college and all the rest of it, I came to a crossroads. I either was going to go to the bank or come back to the family business, you know, and obviously it was a no-brainer. Yes, I've learned all about the business of tourism and the theories and the ideologies and that sort of thing, but I've learned an awful lot as well from my predecessors, do you know, and the whole our whole ethos here of welcome and that sort of thing, and being, I suppose, you know, self-effacing, you know, and giving of yourself in service. Do you know what I mean? But at the same time, keeping people safe and well and educating them. You can only learn that from other people. Do you know? And again, like that, my job. And then you suddenly realize you're starting to use the jargon from sustainability. We're custodians. We're this, and we're saying, yes, absolutely, we are. You know. They were my dad and Roger before me. Here am I at the moment. Do you know what I mean? And the next generation are chomping at my ankles, thankfully. Do you know what I mean? But that's what sustainability is about, you know. And as well, you know, I'm looking around us here now, and April and May are beautiful months, you know, because it's the start of another year, you know, and you're looking around you, and you can see, well, look at, if we don't mind this, you know what I mean? Do you know, from an environmentally point of view, you know, there'll be nothing left for the next generation, do you know? So there's your ecological, your environmental, you know, and the whole social aspect. I've spoken about it already, do you know? And those are the 3 pillars of sustainable tourism. And of course, there is the financial side of things as well. We are a business. We are here to keep going. We're here to pay wages. We're here hopefully for a little bit of profit between both, you know what I mean? And because when you have a little bit of reserve, and that's what went on as well, you put it back into the business, you know, in whatever shape or form that needs to be where you find yourself. So, you know, you can sit in a room and learn about sustainable tourism, but it's getting out and in the doing of it, you know. But again, I always feel that the ethos from Aillwee and here in North Clare is we're very much all about the destination, minding our destination and minding the visitors when they're in our destination, you know.
Oh, incredible. And again, I'm thinking, you know, anytime I've been down driving around the Burren and you stop in any of the little towns around where you're based, you can see that, you know, the community is really thriving. The shops are busy, the pubs are busy, people are in and out. So the whole community aspect is very important as well, then for employment, others, business, everything.
No, absolutely, Kieran. There's a knock-on effect. Do you know what I mean? And you know, we do a little bit of, say, for example, wholesale cheese of our Burren Gold as well. And there's another little, I suppose, business model that exemplifies the collaborations. You know, with our, for example, some of the B&Bs in the region would have our Burren Gold on their breakfast bars. You know, and they have a reason to talk about it. Do you know what I mean? And then, of course, they'll give a referral for them to come and visit us if they haven't heard about us before. Then they appear in front of us and said, we've just eaten your cheese this morning and we'd love to take some home. I mean, you know, job done, isn't it, Kieran? You know, but again, you know, you can't, no man or woman is an island, you know what I mean? You keep up those relationships. They have to happen. Your product has to be good. You know what I mean? You can't expect people to take something that's substandard, do you know what I mean? And that sort of thing. So, you know, in all those, in our overall business model, there's little business models underneath, but they all go towards the same result at the end, you know? So for me, at this stage, it's good to have our finger in a lot of pies, you know what I mean? And sometimes I feel, oh my God, Aillwee has gotten very big, you know what I mean? And what am I going to do, you know, because I have to make this this work every year and be sustainable from a business point of view as well, you know. So it's a challenge, but a very enjoyable one. Very enjoyable.
Incredible. And I don't want to talk too much about this, but obviously we're going through a little bit of a strange time with COVID-19. Hopefully when we look back in a year or two in this video, we'll be thinking, oh, what was that? But it's a tricky time now for businesses, and we need to think of reopening.
Absolutely. Very, very tricky is the word, certainly. But, you know, we closed on the 12th of March. That day, I'll still remember it, 11 o'clock in the morning. It'll be like, where were you? God, you know, when JFK died, Leo was on, I was watching him on the computer. And next thing, you know, I said, well, what does that mean for us, you know? So certainly then it came, museums, galleries and tourist sites had to close. And I said, well, we've been told to close, so that's it. And then we just went, what's this about? We were heading for Patrick's Day. We were heading for Easter. We're open all year round, Ciarán. And, you know, the first 14 weeks of our year are very, very, very quiet. And they're certainly, from a business point of view, a loss-making venture for those 14 years. So we look forward to Patrick's Day and Easter with open arms. Do you know what I mean? And next thing to be told, wham, you know, on the 12th of March was a bit a shell shock, to be brutally honest, because that's not how we ever roll here. You know what I mean? We're open 363 days of the year. Santa has been coming to us, which has been wonderful for the last 20 years and has helped us, Ciarán, to create careers in the Burren. Whoever would, in the tourism industry in the Burren, this is what I'm always saying, in the back end of nowhere in North Clare, you know, we can support 35 careers, you know, and next thing, here we are, you know. So, you know, we sorted everything out, the logistics of, okay, what are we going to do with payments and this, and we were inundated with advice and all the rest of it and that sort of thing, you know. And yes, some of our team are on the wage, the COVID payment and that sort of thing, but that is what we've had to do, you know. And you know, we're 6 weeks into it now, and it started to dawn on me, Nuala, you know, there's an opportunity here, you know. And this is what I keep saying, and I look at my desk every day and it's like a metaphor. Everything's gone off the table now, you know, because everybody is closed. It's a time for reflection. It's a time to look at everything we do and how we do it, do you know? And then to take things back onto the table one by one, to look at them, to test them in the market, to make sure we're doing something in a safe way for our people, because yes, we have a plan, you know. But this whole, like, you know, how are we going to roll out physical distancing? How are we going to do this? How are we going to do that? You know, we have a plan. Our one stumbling block, I suppose, is we don't know yet where we're going to put it in the calendar. Do you know? But, you know, Ciarán, our conversation here, for example, we're doing it via Zoom or whatever, you know what I mean? If in the normal schemes of things, I would have been hearing somewhere to meet you, hearing somewhere or whatever it is, do you know what I mean? It's very relaxed. And this is a positive, and that's only a small example, you know. So I'm looking at it very, very, I suppose, pragmatically, and looking at how we can use these new technologies, you know what I mean, to reach out to our visitors or to our potential visitors in time, you know. And again, I'm lucky because I have the wisdom of years from my predecessors behind me, and we have a good solid base. And I'm you know, people can watch this and say she hasn't a clue. I'm only 2 years into my business, and it's a very different experience for me, and I know that, and I feel for people like for that, you know. But we have to shape shift as well. Yes, we're here. And I remember, say from a marketing point of view, it's another story, but I remember when in the good old days, when you'd be designing a flyer or something like that, don't give too much away. Don't give too much away, because we want them, give them a little taster, but you want them to come on site. you know, to get, and that's when you can make most money and blah, 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 blah. Now I'm looking at the idea of selling actual virtual experiences, be they underground or with birds, online to people. Who would have thought of it? You know, as I say, Roger and Susan are both passed on now, but my mum and dad are still alive, and they're in their early 80s. And I was explaining to my mother as recent as yesterday about how we're thinking of bringing people virtually along with us up through the woodland, you know, with our hawk walks. And she's looking at me and she said, Nuala, you're going to have to slow down and explain that to me a bit more, you know what I mean? You know, because she worked here and you know, and very much the people had to come to experience, you know, and I find it really, really, really sometimes strange, but exhilarating now, because this is it now, and this is the technologies, and we need to use those technologies to reach out to other people, you know.
No, incredible, and just it's amazing to get a little glimpse of what you're thinking of, and I think it's a genius. I think it's incredible, and again, talking to tourism business, as you say, all businesses have to. We need to. You know, in business life, we're going to get these bumps on the road, and we're going to have to duck and dive if it's a normal recession, a depression, or anything like that.
And Kieran, you know, we have a CV of since 1976. All right. I mean, I was 5 when we opened, you know, and you can do the maths yourself. I'm certainly more than 23. But and like that, we have seen, you know, so many recessions. I'll never forget, and I can remember it. In 1980-81, our visitor centre was being built. Before that, we had 2 little mobile, one for the teas and one for the postcards and that sort of thing. But we built this beautiful access building around the cave entrance, you know. And at the time, it won lots of awards because it blends beautifully into the hillside, you know. But it was in the middle of the recession of the late 70s, early 80s. So we had a deadline of Paddy's Day on 1981 or 82, for example, to have the building open. But we were saying, where are we going? This needed huge stonework and masonry work done. As it happens, at the time, there was a post and telegraph strike, right? So all the postmen were striking. But the postmen in the North Clare region, all were farmers and all had masonry experience. So again, Dad and Roger went out, said, lads, look, we need this to be built. We need it to be done by Paddy's Day. You're not working at the moment. Will you come and do that? So they did. So there was the silver lining in the recession, Kieran, you know. And I remember a lovely conversation when we were 21 years open. We had a party, all right, and invited all these people back, you know, and they were sitting in the tea room, 4 or 5 of them together. That was the last time they had worked together, and they were admiring each other's stonework. That was you, Paddy. That, you know, Kieran, you know, where would you get it? You know, but that's what I'm talking about. There's a resilience. There's a resilience in this region, and dare I say it, within our business here, that I've learned from the generation before me, and I have every intention of carrying on. Do you know? So you had the recession, you had the 9/11. You had the ash cloud, you had all this, and I can remember looking at the statistics and going, oh my God, the Americans have just gone off the face of our statistics here. What are we going to do? You know, you turn around and you look at your domestic market, you turn around and you see what you can do, you know. So shape-shifting, I call it, Kieran.
Nice, very good. No, it's amazing advice, and no, interesting. And again, no, I remember a few tough times in my day as well. I'm originally from Monaghan, and I remember the times before we joined the EU and everything. You know, before total change and transformation. As you say, we need to dive and change for the better. And there's always silver linings, no matter what. Yes. There's always opportunities. Doors closed, but new ones open. So
absolutely, and I believe as people just, you know, to listen and to take the advice and to be open in the giving of your information and the receiving of information. Do you know what I mean? And it's for the greater good, you know.
Incredible. So the future goals then, what's the plans? Obviously digital.
I had loads of plans before COVID, can I say that, you know, and that sort of thing. Yeah, certainly. But I do, and they will happen. They might be just put off for a little while, you know. The whole idea of our food tourism is huge. Do you know what I mean? And I'd like to develop that a bit more, you know, into kind of, you know, the whole idea of bespoke experiences and that sort of thing. Smaller groups, you know, that's what the market is looking for, you know. So things along cheese appreciation, like for all the word, like whiskey appreciation. People are looking for a bit more in the line of soft adventure. We might go with a little bit of wild caving at the back of the cave, that sort of thing, you know, all those sort of things. I'm looking at a total rebrand as well. People look at Aillwee and they say, oh, sure, that's the cave, you know what I mean? And I'm not a fan of caves, we won't bother, you know what I mean? But if, I don't know how many, if I had a euro or even 10 cents for every time somebody said, I didn't realize what was here, you know what I mean? And so those are our challenges. Those are the ideas that we have going forward, and they will have to happen. And like I said to you, we might be bringing our Aillwee to a global audience through things like Zoom and experiences online and that sort of thing. So watch this space.
Yes, I'm sure you will. I have a funny feeling I think that's going to happen. So, but again, I'm just thinking, you know, think of all the people who are around the world with Irish roots who sadly will never come back, maybe even home. People who can't travel, won't travel.
That's right.
You open up a global audience, an absolute global audience. So I think, no, it sounds incredible. Even today, if we were able to sit and explore the caves or explore the birds of prey experience, for sure, I think people will be doing it. It's an incredible opportunity. So look forward to seeing that develop in the months and years ahead, for sure. So if anyone wants to find out about what's on offer, and the opening times and the tours, what's the best place? Or
absolutely. Our website, of course, it's www.aillweecave.ie. Now you can see the spelling behind me. It's a challenge, I can tell you, for some people. There are 2 L's there, and there are 2 E's, and there's it's cave in the singular. So www.aillweecave.ie. We're on Facebook. It's facebook.com/Aillwee. Instagram with the cheese, the farm shop at Aillwee. Twitter, Aillwee, absolutely. Just, you know, as long as you get that spelling right, you're only a couple of clicks away from finding out our opening times and that sort of thing, you know. You know, throughout when people can travel again, we have brochures in all hotels and that sort of thing. But yeah, it's the hashtag at the moment is when we can travel again. And yeah, we really look forward to welcoming people here.
Amazing, excellent. Well, again, thank you very much for your time today and allow me to relive part of my youth today. So no, really appreciate it.
Well, Kieran, it'll be great to see you here in person the next time with your family. Absolutely.
For sure. No, that's a given. As soon as we open, I'm straight down the road.
And you know, people were asking me, Nuala, what are you going to do when all this is over? Well, it seems I'm heading for Donegal. So there you go.
Listen, you're going up the way, we're going down.
But that's how it rolls. That's how it rolls.
That's exactly it. No, again, thank you very much. Really appreciate your time today.
Thank you, Kieran.
Excellent. And thank you for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. I'm not sure if you've been down to the Burren and to Aillwee Caves. I think I pronounced it wrong, so I'm going to check that actually with Nuala now in a sec. But if you haven't been, you have to go. Click on the links below this video. You'll see the website and all the social media that Nuala called out. And do for sure check things out and see. I'm looking forward to seeing the digital experience. If you enjoyed this video, please do share it online. And we'll see you in the next video. Thank you again.